The scenario was called the Vanti's Gauntlet, a 5-wave interception run against escalating enemy formations, ending in a single unwinnable engagement that every cadet in Academy history had been expected to lose. The gauntlet wasn't designed to be beaten. It was designed to measure how well a pilot performed while losing, because the Academy's founding doctrine held that command readiness was proven in the last 30 seconds of a fight already gone wrong, not in the fights that were won cleanly. In 210 years, the closest any cadet had come to clearing all 5 waves was Wave 4, hull integrity at 6%, achieved by a pilot who went on to command a battle group and was still, 40 years later, referenced in the Academy's opening lecture as the benchmark of excellence. The current class had one cadet nobody expected to clear Wave 2. Intake had flagged his file for review twice before his first day of flight instruction, not because anything was missing, because too much was there. Simulator hours logged from a civilian registry that shouldn't have existed for someone his age. Combat metrics from unregulated frontier freight routes, the kind of routes insurers refused to cover, the kind that produced pilots who were either exceptional or dead within 2 years. Commandant Errol had read the file twice, because the first read produced a total flight hour count that seemed inconsistent with a recruit barely old enough to hold a fleet license. Verification came back confirmed on the second read, cross-checked against 3 separate frontier logistics registries. His name was Danny Ockhaffer. He had not mentioned any of it during orientation. He had asked once where the simulator bay was, and then he had gone and found it himself before his scheduled slot, sitting in the observation deck and watching 2 hours of other cadets fly the gauntlet before he ever touched a control stick. He wore on his left hand a single worn flight glove, civilian make, not fleet issue, the leather softened by use that no Academy training program could produce in 6 days. He never explained it. He put it on before every session and took it off after, and nobody thought to ask why a recruit with a full fleet issue kit still flew in one glove that wasn't his to have been issued. The taunt came on day 9, in the simulator bay's staging area, the way certain cadets deliver taunts to recruits they've already decided don't belong, with the timing and tone of someone who has prepared it. Cadet Priya Sundaram was in her final year, first in the current class rankings, and she had cleared Wave 3 of the gauntlet twice, a result that had earned her a commendation and a reputation she guarded carefully. She had heard about the frontier freight file. She had decided, the way certain cadets decide, that the file was inflated, that unregulated routes didn't teach anything the simulator couldn't teach better, and that this particular recruit was going to embarrass himself in front of the whole staging bay. She stopped at his console before his scheduled run, arms crossed, loud enough for the row behind her to hear. "So," Sundaram said, "you flew freight lanes nobody insures. Big number of hours, I hear. What's your prediction for today?" "Wave 1, Wave 2 if the sim feels generous." A few cadets nearby laughed, the kind of laugh that happens in rooms where a ranking is being defended. "That's a fair question," Danny said, in the tone of someone who genuinely found it fair. He kept adjusting his glove strap, not looking up right away. "You want the number I think I'll hit, or the number the instructors are actually worried about?" Sundaram grinned, already sure of the answer. "The one you think you'll hit." "All 5, Danny said, clean." The laughter that followed did not stop all at once. It started with the cadets closest to the console, the ones who'd heard him clearly, whose laughter caught mid-breath the way a wave stops. The ones closest first, then spreading outward as the rest of the bay picked up on the sudden absence of a punchline. Sundaram's grin held a half-second longer than it should have, the particular kind of holding a smile does when the person wearing it hasn't yet decided whether to be amused or offended. "Nobody clears 5, Sundaram said. "Nobody in 210 years has cleared 5. "I know," Danny said. He finished the strap and picked up his helmet. "I read the record before I signed up." Instructor Vey had said nothing during the exchange. standing at the back console where he had stood every session for the past 9 days, watching Danny's practice telemetry with an attention the other instructors hadn't noticed yet. Vay had pulled Danny's Frontier flight logs during the second week of orientation. Not the summary, the raw telemetry, hundreds of hours of unregulated freight route combat, encounters that the Academy's own systems had never been asked to analyze before. He had been waiting for the right session to let the class see what he had already seen. Sundaram, without meaning to, had just built him that session. "Run it," Vay said. "All 5 waves, standard scoring." The gauntlet did not announce itself as anything but ordinary at first. Wave 1, 3 light interceptors, a formation every cadet cleared without difficulty. Danny cleared it in the standard time, nothing remarkable in the telemetry, and the Bay's attention had already started to drift by the time Wave 2 began. Wave 2, 6 interceptors and a support cruiser, the wave where most cadets first took meaningful damage. Danny took none. His flight path didn't chase kill counts. It wove between the cruiser's firing arcs using a maneuver the simulator's own combat log flagged as non-standard, low fuel efficiency, historically discouraged. It was a maneuver Frontier freight pilots used to slip cargo runs past pirate interdiction without engaging at all. He wasn't dodging like a fighter pilot. He was evading like someone who had spent years being told that a fight you can avoid is a fight you've already won. Wave 3, Sundaram's own personal benchmark, the wave that had earned her commendation. Danny cleared it 2 full seconds faster than her record hull integrity at 91%. The Bay had gone quiet by now, not because anyone had ordered it, but because the telemetry display in front of them had stopped making sense against anything they'd been taught to expect. Wave 4. The wave the 40-year benchmark pilot had cleared at 6% hull integrity, the number every cadet in Academy history had been raised to admire. Danny cleared it at 78%, using a fuel conservation pattern the simulator logged as originating from civilian freight route doctrine, not fleet combat doctrine. A difference the instructors hadn't fully appreciated until they watched it work. Wave 5. The unwinnable engagement. 12 years of gauntlet data insisted this wave could not be cleared, that it existed specifically to teach cadets how to lose with composure. Danny didn't fly it like a battle. He flew it like a cargo run through hostile territory with something irreplaceable in the hold, minimizing exposure, refusing every engagement he didn't have to take, using the terrain of the simulated debris field the way Frontier pilots used asteroid clusters to disappear from pursuit entirely. 40 seconds in, the wave scripted unwinnable trigger. An overwhelming final ambush the simulation had never failed to deploy successfully in 210 years, activated exactly as designed. Danny wasn't there when it did. He had already flown past the ambush's engagement radius, using a route the simulation's own pathing hadn't accounted for, because no cadet in 2 centuries had ever tried to survive the gauntlet by refusing to fight it. He didn't beat the gauntlet, Vay said to the Bay, in the voice of someone doing a calculation that was going to take longer than the session to finish. He solved a different problem than the one we've been testing for 210 years. We built this scenario to measure how well someone loses. He never lost, because he never engaged anything he didn't have to. By the 5th wave's cleared telemetry, Sundaram was not smiling. She was watching the replay with the specific stillness of someone recalculating what 210 years of institutional certainty had actually been measuring. Sundaram found him afterward in the staging bay, alone, which was not something she usually did with underclassmen, and Vay let it happen without intervening. She stood near his console while he packed his glove away. "You flew it like you were scared of it," Sundaram said. "It wasn't quite an accusation." "I was," Danny said. "Out on the lanes, scared kept people alive longer than confident did. I never once got taught to fight for pride. I got taught to fight for the cargo, and getting it there in one piece was the only score that mattered." Sundaram was quiet for a moment. The instructors are going to rewrite the whole scoring doctrine because of you. That's not really something I was trying to do, Danny said. He didn't look proud of it. He looked like a man checking a strap. I just flew the way I know how to fly. She didn't have anything cutting left to say back, and she didn't try to find one. The record you broke was mine to defend for 2 more years. The Frontier Lanes number and the Academy record number were always going to be different by more than anyone in this bay expected, Danny said, not unkindly, just finishing a thought. That's not really about you. She nodded once and left without another word, the confrontation she'd arrived expecting to have never quite materializing. Danny gathered his gear and walked out of the staging bay, glove in hand, unremarkable, the same way he'd walked in 9 days earlier. No victory lap, no lingering at the leaderboard to watch his name climb it. The work was done. The next session was tomorrow. Instructor Vey opened the cadet performance record that night, the file every instructor updated after a session that changed how the academy understood a recruit, and he sat with the cursor for a moment, because nothing in 19 years of teaching the gauntlet had prepared him to describe what he just watched in the standard language of the form.